Most people think Lego almost went broke because kids stopped playing with toys. That video games took over. That Lego just got left behind by a changing world. None of that is true. Lego nearly killed itself. Lego was founded in 1932 in Denmark by a carpenter named Ole Kirk Christensen. The name comes from the Danish word meaning play well. He starts with wooden toys, then plastic ones. Then in 1958, he patents the brick, the one with the little studs on top that lock together. That brick does not change for the next 40 years. What makes it powerful is not the plastic, it is the system. Every brick fits with every other brick ever made, no matter what year it came from or what set it was in. A brick from 1958 clicks onto a brick from 1993. That is not an accident. It is a deliberate design principle, and Lego protects it obsessively. It means a child can inherit a box of bricks from an older sibling, mix them with a new set, and nothing is wasted. Nothing is incompatible. Everything builds on everything else. That idea is what parents trust. That idea is what teachers put in classrooms. That idea is what makes Lego feel different from every other toy. One brick, one system, 70 years. By the early 1990s, Lego was one of the most trusted toy brands on Earth. It wasn't just popular, it was considered genuinely good for children. Educators recommend it. Child development researchers write about it. Parents who grew up with Lego buy it for their own kids without a second thought. It sits in a category of its own, somewhere between toy and educational tool, and that position is almost impossible to attack. Sales are growing every year. The product is working, the brand is strong, the factories are running, nothing is broken. So the people running Lego decided it's time to grow faster. Here is the thing about the decisions Lego made through the 1990s. None of them were obviously stupid at the time. Video games were genuinely eating into the toy market. Kids who used to spend an afternoon building are now spending it in front of a screen. Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation. These were not abstract threats. Toy sales across the industry were softening. The people running Lego looked at this and concluded that they need to evolve. They need to be more than a brick company. They need to become an entertainment company. That logic wasn't wrong, it was just applied to the wrong company. They opened theme parks, 4 Legoland parks across Europe and America. They licensed the brand to clothing lines, watches, jewelry sets. They launched Jack Stone, a line of posable action figures designed to compete directly with Hasbro and Mattel. They built video games in-house rather than licensing them out. They created Galador, articulated sci-fi figures that looked almost nothing like Lego, and they commissioned a TV show to go with it. Lego executives later described watching the finished show for the first time as being gobsmacked with disgust. It got canceled within a year. The toys went with it. Then there was Snap, 19 sets of a connector toy, gone in a year. Then Clickets, a jewelry and accessories line aimed at girls. Then Lego Studios, a filmmaking kit that let kids make stop-motion movies. Each one a reasonable idea, each one a distraction. The former CEO later admitted there was no shortage of ideas inside the company at the time. There was just no filter. Designers were told to dream big. Nobody was asking whether any of it should exist. While all of this was happening, the actual brick was quietly becoming a problem of its own. In the early 1990s, Lego made around 2,000 unique pieces. By 2004, that number was over 13,000. Every new theme needed new specialized parts. A Star Wars set needs parts that only work for Star Wars. A Harry Potter set needs parts that only work for Harry Potter. A Bionicle figure, Lego's buildable action figure line, needs entirely new joints and components that fit nothing else in the catalog. The universal system, the thing that made Lego worth trusting, was being quietly dismantled from the inside. The factories were producing thousands of mold variations. The supply chain involved raw materials from suppliers scattered across the world. Lead times were long. Quality control was inconsistent. Nobody had a clear picture of what anything actually cost to make. Individual sets were being sold at a loss, and the people setting the prices did not know it. The company was generating billions in revenue, but it was losing hundreds of millions doing it. The complexity had grown so large so fast that the organization couldn't see its own finances clearly. By 2003, Lego was losing $1 million a day. Total debt, $800 million. The company had roughly 3 months before it ran out of money entirely. Ole Kirk Christensen's grandson was still involved in the business. The family has owned and run Lego since 1932. For 70 years, leadership has stayed inside the family. Now, with the company 3 months from collapse, they make a decision they have never made before. They hire an outsider, and his name is Joran V. Knaudstorp. He is 36 years old, a former McKinsey consultant who joined Lego in 2001 and spent 2 years studying the company before anyone fully understood how bad the situation was. When he becomes CEO in 2004, the board is pushing for more products, more markets, more new ideas. Knaudstorp's diagnosis is the opposite of what the board wants to hear. The problem, he says, is not that Lego lacks innovation. The problem is that Lego has too much of it. The company has been innovating in every direction at once, spreading itself across theme parks and clothing lines and TV shows and action figures, and in doing so has lost the one thing that made it worth anything in the first place. He asks one question: what do people actually love about Lego? Not what Lego sells, not what Lego makes. What people love? The answer is the brick, the system, the idea that you can build anything, that nothing is wasted, that every piece connects to every other piece. That is what parents remember. That is what kids want. That has not changed. Everything else is noise. So he cuts the noise. He sells all 4 Legoland parks to Merlin Entertainments. He shuts down the clothing lines, the watches, the in-house game development, the publishing arm. He closes the retail stores. He takes the total product count from 13,000 unique pieces down to 6,000, cutting half the catalog in one move. What he keeps matters as much as what he cuts. The Star Wars and Harry Potter licensed sets survive because they do something specific. They sell bricks. Children buy them and build with them. The license is the hook, but the product is still the system. He also goes through the finances piece by piece and finds what nobody had bothered to check. Lego does not know what anything costs to make. He rebuilds the pricing from scratch. He restructures the supply chain, moves manufacturing to cheaper locations, reduces the number of suppliers. He creates financial transparency that the company has never had. The cuts are brutal, but they are not random. Every single one is in service of the same idea, that Lego is a brick company and the brick is enough. It works faster than anyone expects. By 2005, the losses stop. By 2006, Lego is profitable. From 2004 to 2014, revenue quadruples. By 2010, Lego's annual growth rate is outpacing Apple. In 2014, Lego overtakes Mattel to become the largest toy company in the world by revenue and profit, posting $900 million in annual profit, comparable to Facebook's earnings that same year. By 2024, it generates $10.8 billion in revenue with $2.8 billion in operating profit. The company that had 3 months left in 2003 is now the most profitable toy company ever. The part that is easy to miss: every decision that nearly destroyed Lego made sense at the time. The theme parks made sense. Legoland was a logical extension of the brand. The action figures made sense. The market was moving toward characters and stories. The in-house games made sense. Why hand that revenue to someone else? Reasonable decisions made by reasonable people, compounded over a decade, and the company ends up 3 months from collapse. The crisis was not caused by one catastrophic mistake. It was caused by a slow drift away from the only thing that actually mattered, and nobody inside the company noticed because each individual step away from the brick seemed justified. Knaudstorp's real achievement is not the cuts. It is that he sees what the cuts are in service of. He does not save Lego by finding a new direction. He saves it by recognizing that the direction was already there, underneath everything, unchanged since 1958. The brick was still working. Lego had just stopped paying attention to it.